What up, everybody? How we doing? Feeling good? Welcome to the age of quarantine. My name is David Castillo. It's glad to have all you guys back. We're waiting on Sara Taylor from Youth Code to come and join us. You know what it is, man. Got the Espolone ready. The Espolone kid. The fucking Modelo kid. We trying to get it all going for a nice TGIF moment. Thank you guys for joining us. And I think we got Sara right here.
My dog.
Oh!
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Bum, bum.
Boom, boom, boom,
Sara
boom, boom, boom.
motherfucking Taylor, everybody.
What's up? What's up?
Oh, man. What's up? What's down? I don't really know.
I have
Really?
no idea, like, what day it is. I don't know, man.
I know. I tried to hit him with like a TGIF, but I'm like, I don't even know what that means anymore, you know?
I'm pretty grateful for this right now because I don't think I've put on makeup in like 2 months or something, a month or something like that. I definitely haven't tried to like look like a lady in like 2 months because we were on tour before this, so it's like every day just kind of like ugh, and like living. Oh, sick, dude!
Yeah,
I know.
That. I was getting real like Che Guevara for a minute, and then I was like, you know what, man? I'm gonna make this right. So I'm gonna just start off with the same question I've been asking everybody since we've been doing this shit. Basically, do you know where you would be today if you weren't at home?
I think we would have been just coming home from wrapping up a tour at this day. I think we would have been, I think just coming home from wrapping up a tour.
Cool.
We had,
just as musicians, you know, we're all over the world. People are going everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's
totally.
It's a weird thing to have a prolonged home-like life in a way for some people. You know, especially with these best laid plans, right?
I mean, I hate being home so much that like I still tour with Behemoth when I don't have youth code stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like I just like leave.
Yeah. So for you, this is definitely a kind of a, you know, like touring is your lifestyle, like in general, right?
Yeah.
You're gone probably what, like 8 months out of the year, probably?
Yeah, I'm probably gone 8 or 9 months out of the year, I think at best.
Cool. So I just want to say something to our viewers. If you guys want to ask a question, there's a little like question mark box down there. You guys can just fire away down there, and I'll try and get to some questions later on from the audience. So fill up the little box and I'll, go in there.
Go in and talk about stuff.
Yeah. So I'm gonna dig in. I'm gonna dig in at the start. And we're gonna this thing lets you go for an hour. So we're gonna go to the way back, and we're going to learn some Sara Taylor history, I suppose. Even though we have some history, we've been friends for a while. But let's start young. What really started getting you into the music scene in Los Angeles? That's where you grew up, right?
Yeah. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, which is kind of like I guess a rarity for people in the city. Like I'm sure it's the same thing with New York as well. Like a lot of people kind of come here from all over, which is fucking awesome, you know, but it's definitely a rarity to like especially when I'm like hanging out with people in LA, you know, the question, where are you from, is pretty much never answered with, oh, I was born in Los Angeles. I think Emma Ruth Rundle and Andrew Klinko are two people I know who does Grab Majesty. They're two people I know that are born and raised Los Angelinos. So it's like interesting. I actually went to high school with Emma for like 1 second. And I remember her being like one of the only other like goth chicks around.
Wow.
Like at that point in time.
She was even from Los Angeles. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. My family actually got one of our first dogs from her, and we didn't put this together until like way later on. I was hanging out with her one time. We're just talking about like where the other one grew up and stuff like that. And she was like, "Oh, do you know my sister? Like, how did we not meet?" And it like all clicked when she talked about her sister. And then she was like, "Yo, your family got a dog from my family." And I was like,
wow.
What the fuck? Like, I couldn't believe like that I had no recollection. And then like as soon as she said it, like it set in. And I remember seeing Emma at shows at the Troubadour and shit like that. She was like one of the first people I knew that like fucked with Skinny Puppy as much as I did and shit like that. Like she's always been fucking down, which is rad. But
That's
in
pretty
growing up,
amazing.
yeah, it's
It's pretty
insane.
amazing too when you realize those things like years later. You're like, holy shit, I've been in a room with this person probably like 40 or 50 times,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
never knew who they were, or like,
Exactly.
or like maybe I knew who they were, but I never even met them. I
Yeah,
always find
yeah,
that
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. So where my mom lives, it's like you can take the number 4 bus from like a 5-minute walk from my mom's house straight down Santa Monica, and it lets you off at Santa Monica and La Cienega, which is where the Troubadour is. So
Mm.
I was going to like these free Monday night shows at the Troubadour. And then if you walk up the hill from Santa Monica and La Cienega, you get to Sunset in La Cienega, which is where the Key Club used to be. And then that's like the beginning of the Sunset Strip.
Hmm.
So I started going to shows probably around like 14, 15 years old. And then from when I was 15 called Loudside. And I would flyer after shows. I would like pass out tapes, you know, CDs, stickers, all this shit. And then from there, I was getting into shows for free. And I was like, this is fucking sick. You don't have to fucking pay for this show? Like, ripper. So I would go to all these shows, meet all these people. And like when I graduated a little bit early. I graduated when I was 17. And one of my best friends in high school, he had a band that got signed to Reprise. And so he was like, we need a t-shirt girl. And I was like, sure. So like I started touring when I
Cool.
was like 16, 17 years old because I went on this tour and like it was called Loco Bazooka was the tour. It was like my first full US. It had like Mushroom Head and Filter and like Seven Dust was on it. So I did this full US tour when I was like 17 years old. And like from there, I just met other people in bands and I was like, I just played it cool. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be like, oh shit, like you're, you know, and panic about stuff because I found pretty quickly that if you just play it cool, everyone wants you around. So that's
Sure.
when I started touring, yeah, before I was even 18 years old. And then like after I turned 18, it was just like nonstop. That's all I did.
Yeah, because it seems like, if you follow Sarah on social media and stuff like that, I'm like, wow, this woman knows people from like all corners of kind of metal and punk and emo and like all sorts of different corners of life. And I guess you can attribute that to those sorts of early touring experiences, just kind of linking with people from all over the country, world, really.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Well, that's pretty
It's
cool.
I was talking about it with someone the other day, and maybe not the other day, but a while ago, I was talking about how I'd gone to Sweden just on vacation to go hang out with friends of mine, and I was asking my friends in Sweden about quarantine and stuff. And my friend was like, "How, like, why Sweden of all places?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. I've just always made friends with people in Swedish bands since I was like 17." And then I really sat and thought about that at 35 years old, and I was like, I had friends in like a full ass different country, like different groups of friends in this country that I'd like never been to for years and years. I didn't start going to Sweden until I was like in my mid 20s. So I had
Mm,
like whole groups of friends that I could go and hang out with in this different country. And I was like, damn, that's pretty crazy to think about that I like had all this shit going
yeah.
on at like such a young age.
Yeah, it's pretty wild too that you can just kind of reach out to different people and they could tell you about different situations, right? You're like, hey,
Totally.
how's things like that in Sweden? Or hey, what's up with this over here in Vancouver or
Yeah,
South
yeah, yeah.
America or so on and so forth. I think that that's one of the real like treasures of touring life or being
Oh,
a musician is
absolutely.
that kind of cultural exchange, right?
Yeah.
So doing the merch thing, and then at a certain point, I mean, you decided to start a band. When did you decide to kind of like make the leap? How is this? Let's hear the superhero origin story. I'm here for it.
So like I had no interest in being in a band, like whatsoever. I had zero interest of doing this for years. Like I was just totally content with doing merch. I started to kind of wind down from wanting to do it. Like I was starting to get like real burnt on it after a while. It's like way more of a grueling job than I think that a lot of people
I've seen Sara
understand.
organize merch for Behemoth at like Irving Plaza and like Slayer tours and stuff, dude. This is no joke. These merch people work their fucking asses off. So please realize this. They're
Yeah,
setting
yeah,
up
yeah,
basically a
totally.
store every day.
Totally, totally. It's like so much more because like you have, yeah, you're like the manager of your own Urban Outfitters every single fucking day in a different city. And it's like pretty wild to like think about and wild to be, especially like with metal. Like there's some bands that I've worked for that are like, oh yeah, we've got like a 5 item limit and then like that's, you know, like that's all we sell. But like metal, you've got like 16 different black t-shirts with skeleton guy on it and then like 20 different pins and patches and flags and like hoodies and all this shit and like it it gets to a point where you like when the crew is like loading in stuff at 11 in the morning, that's like when I was starting to fucking pull shit in and then you have to restock every single night and then you know most of the other crew get to chill until the band that they work for goes on, but I had to sit there from 11 in the morning till 2 in the morning sometimes, like getting everything set up, getting it all cool looking, selling, making sure I had restocks, you know, the whole nine. So I was getting fucking burnt,
Yeah.
like super
Like
burnt
it.
on it. And I met Ryan, and like when I met Ryan, I was like 2 weeks out from going on tour with Newfound Glory. And I like did the tour. We talked every single day. And like when I finished the tour, I was like, I'm like really in love. Like a love
Big
that I
feels.
like, yeah,
Big
big,
feels.
big, huge feels. And I had never felt this way before, like this in love. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do merch anymore. I'm over it. I'm going to stay at home and I'm going to get a job. And I got a job at Vacation Vinyl after basically bribing Gray and Pete with like a case of beer every single day. I would just show up. I lived down the street, so I'd show up and bring
It
like a
worked.
case of beer. It did work, dude, because I was like there every single day. I'd show up at around like 5 p.m. or something and stay till 9 when vacation closed. And I'd just bring like a dirty 30 over there and just drink with those dudes until finally they gave me a job. And I was like, sick. I've got like a normal life. I've got a routine. Like I go to work, you know? And they were doing an employee showcase and they told me that they were going to have me DJ it because I didn't have a band. And I like, you know, I have to kind of be honest with myself that I am a I'm a pretty competitive person. And so I was like, what do you mean I don't have a band? And they were like, you don't have a band? And I was like, yeah, you have got a band. It's called Youth Code. Put it on the fucking flyer. But I didn't have a band, like at all. Like I had no such thing. And I remember coming home.
This is very Oasis to me. How they like
Uh,
they lied. They're like, oh, dude, I got like 20 live forever. It's in the trunk. It's fine.
so I so I like I got home and I told Ryan, I was like, hey, we have a show in like 5 days. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, we have a band now. And he was like, what do you like? What do you mean? Like, we hadn't even been together for like a full year, Ryan and I. And I was like, yeah, we have a band. We're calling it Youth Code. We have a show in 5 days, so we got to get these songs together. And like within a week of me saying that we had a band, we wrote 3 songs. And we only had like 2 synthesizers, I think, at the time. I think we had like a microKORG that we borrowed from our friend Hav, and we had the sampling Korg ESX,
Wow.
and we had the blue Korg EMX. So we just had those 3 synthesizers, and then we played our first show. And it was like right after that, people were like, oh, do you want to play this show? Do you want to play this show? Like we hit the ground and just ran with it. And
So
it's
there
been my
was
life ever since.
so there wasn't much of like this big thought like, hey, we're gonna be this industrial band and like blah 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 blah. It was just, hey, this is what we have at our disposal and maybe we can do something like that.
No, it was like, we have a band, let's write these songs. And like, we both, at the time in Los Angeles, it wasn't, industrial was not really big, like definitely nowhere where it is right now. Like it just wasn't,
Not even close.
yeah, it wasn't anything. Like we had, like similar to how New York had like the weird scene and stuff like that.
Nikki Sneakers, big shout out.
Absolute big shout out to Nikki Sneakers. There was like there was Das Bunker, which I'd been going to since I was a teenager, but Das Bunker was kind of like reserved to like the real goth heads and stuff like that. Like I feel like that stuff, it wasn't the way that it is now where people are like, you can say that you're industrial and like you're a fashion person. It wasn't a thing.
This is not cool. It was definitely not cool.
So there was like a little bit of muttering, but it was mostly like a lot of people hanging out at this club called Killing Spree, which was DJ'd by Zane Landreth, Gibby, and this chick named Sarah Toon. That was kind of like our LA version of like what Weird Night was in New York. But it was a lot of minimal synth, like tons of minimal synth.
Sure. That was definitely the biggest kind of, I think, synth music going on at that time was a lot of minimal synth, cold wave stuff. And Weird,
Totally.
the party Weird that turned into Nothing Changes, that Nikki helmed. Weird was a record label that put out a whole lot of it. So it was very natural that that was continuing to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like when we started, it was kind of like I knew that we were going to be doing stuff that was industrial, like that. I knew that there's no way for me, like, and I think that this is maybe something that's like a self-esteem issue, I guess. But to me, a lot of minimal synth was like very gaunt, thin, beautiful people, like people that were like elegant about stuff. And I like have never felt that way, I guess, like about myself. I never felt like comfortable being like, I definitely didn't feel like I was a good singer by any means. And I definitely didn't feel like, I was this like dress wearing, like, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't that girl. I've never been. So I was like, we're going to do electronic stuff because this is what we have at our disposal. And that's what we're going to do. And Ryan was like, well, you're going to sing it. And I was like, well, I can't really sing, but sure, I'll scream, like whatever. Yeah, got it. So that's how Youth Code started. And
yeah, it's really interesting. I think the climate of what was going on then and how interesting that really was. Because, I mean, at least for me, I loved industrial music at the time, and I still do. I have for a long time. And Nikki from, Nothing Changes and Weird and her photography and stuff, we've been really close since we were about 17, 18 years old. And I liked a lot of that music, but somewhere along the way, I felt like the punks had left the building, and it was kind of left.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it left. It was kind of in a limbo state, and there was nothing that I had felt that was coming from a place that I really understood so much. And then I heard Youth Code, and for me, I was really taken by the industrial sound, but with like kind of the hardcore and punk furor that kind of came with it. And I was like, this is what I've been kind of looking for. And I was like, I want you to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever saw Youth Code was in the basement of Home Sweet Home. And it was such the performance, I think, is what drew me in too. I think that there's a lot of electronic music that doesn't feel as visceral.
I mean, there's like I'm not trying to throw shade at anything, but like there was a lot of stuff that was just like someone puts their laptop up and like kind of does like a little sway and dance and things like that. And like, that's cool, like for that sort of shit. But like Ryan and I are not those people. Like we can't be that way. There's a really funny story about why we ended up doing that Nothing Changes show, actually. And it goes into hardcore. When I was working at Vacation, like I think we had like maybe just got the tape together or something like that. Or we were like starting to like get the tape together, the first Youth Code demonstrational cassette. Some dude came in and I was like listening to, I think I was listening to Chain of Strength or Cro-Mags or something like that. I was listening to hardcore at the record store, and this guy was like, you know, Judge got back together, and I was like, okay. And he was like,
Cool.
he's like, yeah, they did. They're practicing. They're going to do the Black and Blue Bowl in New York. And I was like, shut the fuck up, fool. Everyone's been saying that Mike Judge is like coming out of like nowhere, you know? Like,
Yeah, there were a lot of rumors around that time. Like,
totally.
he was like the Loch Ness monster. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So I went home and I told Ryan, like, hey, this guy told me that Judge is like getting back together, like they're playing. And Ryan was like, oh yeah, I never heard that one before. I was like, yeah, whatever, man. Like,
Ryan
this is just what I heard. Yeah, like Ryan was just like, yeah, sure. So I then confirmed it with sources that Judge actually was going to play the show. And I had just like become internet friends with Nikki. Like I didn't know her or anything, which is like very rare for me. I'm not an internet person in terms of like making friendships with people that I don't know. Like I pretty much have to like see you or talk to you or, you know, in most cases, like have a few different conversations before I'm like friends with you on the net. And I hit up Nikki and I was like, hey, I think that we want to come to town to go to the Black and Blue Bowl to see Judge. Is there a way that we can like play a show while we're there to like offset costs? And she was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, we'd love to have Youth Code here. So the reason that Youth Code ever went to New York to play, which was our first out-of-state show, is because of Judge.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
I think that it's important to sort of point out, too, that Ryan, the other half here, was an amazing hardcore band as well and really came from that scene as well. So for you guys, obviously, that was like a very natural thing. And I think that if you watch the performances, too, I mean, you guys look like a hardcore band.
Ryan's like way harder than I am on stage, I swear. He's like, sometimes I'll look over. I've almost like caught his fist so many times. Like that fool goes off. And I'll just be like, whoo, like have to like figure out a way to
in
jump
these tight
backwards.
quarters, I was feeling it. I was like back here watching the show and I was like, whoa, that's fucking nuts. And
Yeah.
that's the way you want to feel at a show, everybody. So deliver
Yeah,
it
it was
like
cool.
Sara Taylor, one
It
of
was
my
cool.
favorite vocalists in the game. True story.
Thank you.
And then, you know, honestly, after that, I feel like, you know, there was this little East Coast connection that you guys started kind of coming up with. And then, you know, I was keeping track of the band. We were working a bit together.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it felt like a lot of people, in my mind, were kind of looking for the same thing. And I would see the name pop up, and it would be like somebody that I really, like, thought was cool. Like, some dude from Unbroken is like, oh, this is an amazing band, you know? Some Sean from Cult Nation, just all these different folks from all over the place seemed like this was a thing that was that they had been looking for too. And it felt like you guys hit like a little zeitgeist moment there. But then you delivered. How did the relationship then start forming with Deus and stuff like that for you guys to start releasing more material?
I mean, what happened was like when we first started, I told Edley from Psychic TV that I was doing a band, and he and I had been friends for a few years prior.
Yes.
And I told him I was going to do a band, and like our fourth and fifth shows ever were with Psychic TV. So he was like, "Hey,
all right, Jen."
Yeah, true, big. That's a big one for me. But you know, he hit me up and was like, I want to do a 7-inch for you. Like, Angry Love wants to put it out. And I was like, we don't even have a demo tape out yet. Was my alarm.
No, that's good, man. We're rolling. We got quarantine production values. It's fine. My dogs are barking out here. I got all sorts of things.
I know. I'm surprised our dogs are being as quiet as they are right now. But yeah, like he was like, okay, well, when you're doing the after you're done with the demo cassette, like let's talk. We at Angry Love, we want to do your first like vinyl release. And I was like, okay, sure. So we did that, and I know that Genesis and Edley and Ryan Martin had a good relationship, and then my Ryan and Gibby had like a relationship through like hardcore and stuff like that. And I remember it was Gibby's fiance's birthday. He was taking everybody to this place called Honda Ya for her birthday, which is like in this like funny strip mall thing, you know, in like Little Tokyo, like down by downtown LA in the Arts District. And I got in the, he was like, do you want to come with? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go to Rebecca's birthday. It'd be awesome. And he picks me up and he's like, I really love the cassette that you guys have done. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. You know, whatever. I've known Gibby for years before, but, you know, like Ryan and I had this conversation that we only wanted to release the record with Deus. So it was like a weird manifestation when Gibby took us out to dinner and he was like, yeah, I want to do this. And so we did the records with Deus, and it was a really amazing and wonderful relationship that we had with them, like super rad. And it was cool to kind of grow with that label, because at that point in time, I think that we were one of the first releases that they ever had to like broaden their pressing numbers at. Like they were doing like, I think like $250 or $300. They were doing like 250 or 300 pressings of a record at each time. Like that was kind of the biggest that they had done. And then when we came along, I think the first press of the record, they were going to do 500 of it, and it sold out like super quick. So then they had to go in and do a repress of it. And when they repressed, I think they did another 500. And I believe the third pressing was also 500 of the first record. But like when we did A Place to Stand, they were like, okay, we have to like release 1,000 out of the gate. Yeah. And so like it was cool to grow with this label and like be side by side with them and like watch them blossom and get so much recognition, because Deus is like an absolutely pivotal label, like an amazing label.
Absolutely. Definitely ahead of its time.
Totally.
Trend setting, and Gibby and Ryan, shout out to them. Really amazing. Also,
big shout out to them.
Came from the hardcore scene as well. Ryan as
totally.
Well. So
Gibby was like one of these people that like I had this like AOL Instant Messenger friendship with for years before. And he was like one of the first people that like I didn't know that I would just talk about weird, random, obscure like neo folk and black metal with. Like, he knew so much shit. And most people that I know like didn't have like that much of like a background on it. At least people from hardcore definitely didn't fuck with that shit. So it was cool to be able to talk to Gibby back then. And like I think I started talking to him in like 2007. Yeah, because I moved before I moved to Chicago.
That's pretty wild. So one thing that I was also always wondering about too, I feel like with a lot of electronic groups and things of that nature, right? Playing live is always kind of like this evolution, right? Mm-hmm. You know, as you continue, maybe you get, like you said, we started from 3 cents, and I know that you know you guys got a lot more in that house in LA where you're at right now.
I'll show you right now what this is like a
Are we doing a tour? Oh.
I'll give you a little tour. This is like the mini setup right now. Like we're recording all that stuff from here. We've got Dave Smith stuff. Woo! We've got Electron stuff. This is just Cadillac. Like, this is the fucking Cadillac, to be very honest.
Yeah, that's the Rolls Royce.
You're right. Maybe I just like value Cadillacs a little bit more than Rolls Royce. But yeah, that's just like a fraction of what's going on in the house right now. And the evolution has been so fucking insane that like, it's hard for me to keep up at points in time, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, to me, it's really interesting to see the evolution of how you guys have kind of continued on as live, and even how audiences have received you and stuff like that over the years. I feel like, again, you guys were kind of playing the road for like this sort of, I think, new wave of sort of industrial kind of diaspora and stuff like that.
Hmm.
How was it for you guys kind of like earlier on trying to be like, hey, we're like a newer industrial group, like we're here now to now? How did that kind of progression go? How did you feel?
I think that like we as a band are constantly trying to like to be different. You know what I mean? Like we've only done like a handful of one-off shows and like maybe two tours with industrial bands. For the most part, like from the beginning, something that we both said and something that we've like stood by for like the entirety of this band's existence is that we're trying to put industrial on the map for like a broadened audience. Like I don't want to just play for the people that like, you know, Frontline Assembly or Skinny Puppy or like, you know, like I don't want to play for only that sort of stuff because it's like a glass ceiling. So from the beginning till now, nothing's changed. Like we're still going out on tours where people don't know what the fuck is going on. We're still like trying to spread ourselves to audiences that maybe are not familiar with this type of music. And I see it pay off all of the time. I see more of an acceptance in electronic and industrial elements to music now than I have since like Static X came out. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's cool now, dude. But I see like this acceptance and like I'm not here trying to like fucking suck myself off or anything because I'm definitely not like the only person in the entire universe that's ever helped to do certain things like that. But I will say that watching from when we started to now, to hear the term industrial so like thrown around and constant and in everybody's music, I can't help but to think that like we didn't have like a very big part of this.
I know. I know that that's the case. I would say that I know, and that you guys deserve a great deal of credit for that. You know, in kind of like this sort of new era, and I think that that's a really it's a great thing that you guys didn't try and limit yourselves to like a genre sort of a place and a place to be, and you confronted those sorts of like different sort of audiences and markets and be like, hey, come to us. We're just a
Exactly.
good fucking band. We're just a
We
good
just like
fucking
to
band.
have fun and like I know that industrial is a music that like I mean just from me being young and being into it at certain points in time like I got into industrial like super young. Like granted it was from my dad, but the reason that I latched onto it so hard was because it was similar to the aggressive metal music that I was listening to, but I also had this part of me that was like, man, I fucking love Depeche Mode so much. So like Depeche Mode being this amazing band that used like electronics all the time, and then me like listening to fucking Pantera, I was like, what is the middle ground of this? And then you hear industrial and you're all boom, you know?
And yeah, and
So
then there you are.
it's yeah, and so it is like absolutely crucial, I think, on our part to not just let industrial be this thing that kind of got relegated to being only like a thing for a certain type of person or a certain type of music. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would rather just play for a million different types of people, a million different, you know, people into music. And if they don't like it, fuck it. I don't really care. Like I am stoked that people like our music, but like at the same point in time, it's kind of like what I really, really enjoy is just turning people on to new shit, you know?
Yeah, I think that, you know, why make confrontational music if you're not really willing to be confrontational?
For sure.
If you like to just stay in the places that you're comfortable in, well, then that's not it's gonna how much does that translate?
Am I
Um,
allowed to smoke cigarettes on here or what?
Fuck yeah, dude, do
All
whatever
right.
you want, dude. Me and
All right,
Ethan
cool.
from Primitive Man smoked half the weed in North America the other day. Totally fine.
Cool.
um, but yeah, so basically, you know, I think that there's just been such great moments in that progression, and you know, at least from, you know, one of the things that sticks out to me, and I think it's probably because it was honestly in your photo is in our Kickstarter video right now. One of
Oh, really?
yeah, it's like in the video, it's like part of like kind of the montage of stuff. and to view crowd surfing at Saint Vitus. And
in a Pitchfork showcase.
Exactly, that we do it with Brandon Stossy. Shout out to Brandon, and with Marissa Nadler.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
it was
phenomenal.
Northside Festival.
Yes, and that show to me, that was a really amazing moment. I thought, first of all, it coalesced a lot, and I felt like so many people were there to see Youth Code, and it just brought me back. You know, I've been doing Vitus for 9 years this month.
Mm-hmm.
We would be celebrating our 9-year anniversary this month if it wasn't for the, but whatever. We still are here. But to me, that was an amazing moment that coalesced, and it kind of goes back to the point where it was like, you have Marissa Nadler, you have all these different groups, you have Pitchfork curating with us, and it worked, and it worked in like this really phenomenal way.
Totally.
And I thought that showed the power of the band in this like really, really beautiful way. You know, you're like, this is for a whole lot of people, and look how this is really working. I thought that was phenomenal.
Totally. Yeah, it was that show was a lot of fun. I remember that.
I also remember that I had to pick you up in a snowstorm. And
dude, that was crazy. We were the last flight out of Los Angeles into New York that night, and you picked us up at JFK. That was crazy.
I wish you guys could see this picture of me driving up in my little sedan, and I'm cruising up, and there's no one. There's like probably 1.5 feet of snow on the ground. And
I wish that you could have seen like the fucking absolute look of sheer horror on my face when we got to LAX.
You were in capris and like little vans, like head thin vans, and I was like,
it's the same.
That's
it's
what
the
I'm
same.
saying. This is exactly the look, dude. It was like, that was the look. And I'm like, these motherfuckers are from Los Angeles. They don't know what the fuck's going on, and I have to save them. It took us 2.5 hours to get from Queens to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking crazy. But it worked out so well because the next day the snow had melted, and like everyone came out, and it was
what's crazy? That night that you picked us up,
it's still one of my most amazing
played.
stories.
Do you remember Zola Jesus played at Vitus?
Correct.
That night before, and she went outside into the street
and
did some of her show in the street, and I thought that was one of the most phenomenal things I'd ever seen in my fucking life.
Actually, we have Nika going to do this Age of Quarantine next Friday. So
Sick.
we'll revisit that moment with her, and that was one of the other wild snow stories that we've had at Vitus. I think those are the two. The two
it was good.
Top rank ones.
Yeah, it was good.
Let's bring this into the present day a little bit, you know? We got a bunch of stuff. I mean, granted, we're all inside, but we got some new stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys just released a new single. Talk to me about it.
So we've been like, it's kind of crazy. Like, we've been writing for so long, but because we're always on tour, it becomes like hard to like sit down and like think about writing like a full album.
Sure.
And especially like in terms of trying to do a full album, like, and do new things with it, which is what we're constantly trying to do. Like, it's really difficult when we're constantly on the road, or I'm on the road and doing stuff. So like, we had kind of a little bit of like an opportunity to like sit down and write stuff. And we have, I think the board says there are like 9 songs that are like finished, and about 10 songs that just need touch-ups and stuff on them. But I was like, you know what? Like, we've been playing Puzzle live for the last year. We started playing it. We started playing it on the Health Tour when it was like brand new. And I was just like, you know what? Like, let's just put it out there. Let's just like do it. And we teamed up with Isolate Create. They had hit us up about doing stems. And when we did the Commitment record, I think Reese had like there was like a hard drive crash or something like that. So we don't have the stems for like that stuff. So I was like, fuck it. We have the stems for Puzzle. Like, let's just put it out. And then we were like, oh, but no one's actually heard it. So why don't we just like release it as a single just so people can hear it when they're doing the Isolate Create stuff, to be able to like have a reference point of like what the song sounds like.
Sure. Could we just pause for a quick second, just so
Mm.
everybody knows what Isolate Create is, because it's a really great thing. Do you want to explain it to
Yeah,
folks?
Tom from The Armed put this together where it's a resource website for people who want to remix bands while they're just kind of like in the house, not doing anything, like every single person should be. If I catch you outside, dude, that is not a good thing without a mask or gloves. So everyone needs to stay inside right now. But during this, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Unless you got to go to the like market or the doctor or something, or like you still have a job, that's fucking sick. Go to your job. But
Yeah.
like, you know, they offer like a resource for people that are like staying inside to like continuously be creative, and I think it's like an incredible fucking thing. Like, it's rad.
Brilliant. So many
So
amazing bands on there, right? You got
totally.
Converge, Death Heaven, The Arm, Chelsea Wolf. The
Juju's
list
on
goes
there.
on.
Like, it's so rad. It's so awesome.
Absolutely brilliant. And it's really cool that you guys did that too. So all of us can play around inside your musical brains a little
Yeah,
bit, see
yeah, it's
what's
cool.
under the hood. I'm
The
excited, man. I was listening to those Converge stems, like, you know?
yeah, I saw Jay Weinberg took one of the songs apart and like did the drum track for one of the Converge songs, which I thought was like super sick. Jay, if people don't know, is the drummer of Slipknot, and he is a fucking shredder. So
Incredible.
watching him do stuff was like super awesome.
Yeah, and that's a really amazing way of sharing and connecting in a time where this is the way that we can share and connect, right?
Exactly.
The other thing that I wanted to also chat with you about too is this quarantine coloring book thing that you're doing with Gerard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, like that's like another thing that I like. Trying to think about like where to begin or how to begin this with. I've known Gerard. He's been one of my best friends since I was about 19 years old. Um,
Gerard from My
and
Chemical Romance, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's been one of my best friends since I was 19, and like I met them right before Three Cheers came out. And so like now at this point in time, like I before quarantine and everything, I think that I was over hanging out with him and Lindsay at their place like at least once a week. I think like at the very least we do like our demo tracks at their house. Like I'm always at that fucking house. So
And so they live in Los Angeles as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So
I live in New
he
Jersey and they live in Los Angeles. This is a natural progression of
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he and I were talking about like what was going on with stuff, and he's been, you know, as you do with your friends, you check in on them and make sure that like everyone's okay and everything. And we were just kind of talking about like how much this sucks. Like it fully sucks to be stuck inside. And like, I don't know, for me, like it kind of spawned from like not being able to hang out with my friends for like when we got home from that Refuse tour, we left February 13th. So from February 13th up until now, we haven't really seen any of our friends from LA. Like it's just not really a thing that we can do, nor could we do before we left for tour. So when I was talking to him about it, I was like, man, this fucking sucks. Like, you know, what can we do? Like, is there a thing that can be done? Like, are people going to be able to do cool shit during this? And I was like, what? Like, we should do a coloring book. And he was like, dude, that would be super sick. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it would be super sick. And he was like, let's do this. You know, for me, like, I can say that I want to do things, but like, you know, I don't know how to go about starting a thing like that. Like, it's just not like in, not
I
like
don't
in
know
my,
how
like,
to start one,
not, yeah, not in
like
my
a
resource
collaborative
list.
coloring book on the internet either.
Totally. And so he was like, let's reach out to different artists and let's see if they want to like donate a page and let's just kind of get it popping from there. And I was like, all right, cool. So I reached out to like a shit ton of my friends, basically anyone I knew that was creative in any way, shape, or form. And the roster of people that are in this coloring book for the next month is like insane. So we got it together. We had a group chat that also had like a youth hoods manager who helps out with my chem stuff as well. We like all got in this group chat together and we're like, okay, this is the list of people. This is like who's saying yes, who can we reach out to? And we all just kind of started bringing in all these different people. And now like, yeah, it's live. It went live the other day and it's just been like this really, I think like the thing that's most,
What's the Instagram for it?
It's the Quarantine Coloring Book.
Cool. So search that if you want to check it out. The Quarantine
Absolutely.
Coloring Book.
And like the website is where you can download the PDF. So if you go to www.thequarantinecoloringbook.com, well, I've never like said a web address like that. I feel like I'm on some 1990s shit right now. Go to my website.
You did that quarantine.
Yeah. But that's where you can download the PDFs, and it's a brand new PDF every single day from a different artist that's contributing to this format, which I think is so rad for artists to do that. And I think like the most enjoyable thing about the whole process is watching all the people color shit in. Like I didn't realize, and I was talking about it today, I get so much of a kick out of like watching art be colored in by people I don't know, drawings that I didn't even create. Like, I'm stoked on it. It fucking rules. And everything has been so awesome.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful way to, you know, connect with people and again find some sort of community in this really like weird, wild time that we're like globally experiencing. I think it's an awesome thing. Besides obviously the new Youth Code single, which we've all been waiting for. But you know what? This shit takes time, motherfuckers. It takes time.
It does.
If you've been with us for the past 47 minutes and 54 seconds, you know that it takes time to be one of the great industrial bands on earth, okay? So wait for the next record and be fucking patient, bro.
Dude,
it's okay. It's okay.
Here's the deal.
It's okay.
I know, dude. Here's the deal, though. Like, anytime that we do something where we're like, you know, like when we put out the health collab, or when we put this out, or when we put out like a you know, whatever we do, even if I post like, yo, this is a picture of my dog, people are like, you need to put out a new album right now. It's like, dog, just fuck it. Like, does anyone remember before the internet and before you could actually access like celebrities, dude? There's no way that I would fucking tell Marilyn Manson, yo, put out a new album right now, dog. Like, I would never in my life.
You're all gonna judge you anyway. You know,
exactly.
It can't be trash. It takes time. It can't be trash. It takes fucking time. So let Sarah and Ryan do what they're doing with their studio that you were.
I'm about to have a fucking leave Britney alone moment is what I'm about to have on everyone.
I'm saying, bro.
It's cool. Like, I mean, to like the counterbalance of that is like, I'm really happy that people want to hear what we're going to do in the future.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy that people are excited enough to comment, but like, dude, like, just, I get it, dude. Thank you. I'm stoked, but like, give me my fucking time, bud.
Yeah, dude. Just, you know, go to the coloring book and color until we get to the new Youth Code record.
Or just fucking remix. Just make your own Youth Code record. You got one song's worth of lyrics, dude. Just write 10 more. just put the same lyrics on it.
Dude, I just almost drank out of the closed beer.
Dude, I'm done with my fucking energy drink. I don't normally do.
Yeah. So we got about 10 minutes left before Instagram kicks you off. So I want to dig into the question box and let's see what the people are saying.
Okay, let's see what the people are saying.
First one is, when's the new Youth Code album dropping so we skip it?
Never.
Okay, here's a good one. So we click on it. What's your favorite Manson moment?
Oh, God.
It's a hard one.
Let's see. I feel like
you could go with a couple, so we don't have to.
Yeah, we can go with a couple. I feel like when Manson was on MTV Live, which was the show that was the precursor to TRL, and Mechanical Animals was coming out, I remember sitting in my room, ready with the VHS to record the MTV Live. I think I still have the MTV Live with him talking on it because my mom dropped off like a box of VHS cassettes of mine from when I was young, and I'm pretty sure that it's on there. That one was like a pretty good moment. I think, you know, I have so many different moments that like resonate with me personally on things that he's done. But my favorite, I think, all time is like, I somehow have like, man, I hope that this doesn't bite me in the butt. I have somehow ended up at his birthday for the last 3 years. And like, we're not buds. Like, I'm just there, which is tight. Like, I'm not bummed about that whatsoever. But I went to, so his 50th birthday, my friend Mark took me into like the cool kid room or whatever. And Mark is his production manager. And I was like standing there, and I'm like in a room, and it's like Manson, like Jonathan Davis, Billy Idol, Yoshiki from X Japan. Like, all these people are like sitting on this couch, right?
This is what Los Angeles is to me.
Yeah, it's like what everyone says Los Angeles is. So I'm sitting in this room. I turn to my left, and like Nick Zinner from Yeah Yeahs is like standing to the left, like, and he knows how much I love Manson, and he's just like, he's like smiling, right? And like Mark's with me, and I'm like, Mark's like, you're gonna go up and talk to him. I was like, no, I'm fucking not, dude. I'm not talking to him. I don't want to talk to him. He's like, you're at this man's birthday party. You're gonna talk to him. And I was like, no.
A happy birthday.
Like, the thing is, I can't. Like, I'm so like, Manson's my number one. You know what I mean? So like, it's weird that I was even at his birthday party. Like, this is all weird to me, right? So he's like getting up to go in the other room, and Mark goes, boss, I want you to meet someone. And Manson turns to me, and I went from like feeling like 3 tequila deep confident to like a small child, like within 2 seconds. And I was like, hi, happy birthday. And he's all, oh, thanks. I'm Manson. I was like, I'm Sara. And Mark's like, he's so brash, he's great. But he was like, Sara wrote that article about you, the Mechanical Animals record. And he was like, oh, cool. I like really love that article. Like, thank you so much. It was really well written. I was like, yeah, cool. Thanks. And I'm like standing there, like, I was like, what's her name from the superstar from Saturday Night Live, Kathy, what's her name?
Yeah.
I'm just like standing there like this, right? Because I have Manson tattoos on my hands. And I'm just like, ah. And Mark grabs my hands, and he goes, look at her hands. Boom. And he like, Manson like grabs my hands, and he's looking at him, and he gets this big smile on his face, and he just looks at me, and he goes, thank you so much. And then he leaves, and I'm like, ah! And then I turn around, and I see Zinner. Zinner's like smiling. I was like, yo, check my pulse right now. Zinner goes to put his fingers up to my neck, and he gets like 2 inches away, and he can feel my pulse. Like, he's 2 inches away. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. My pulse was like, ba 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 ba.
It's like a Cryptopsy record.
Dude, it was insane. It was insane. That, I think like that's like one of my, there's like a few more, but I think that one is like my personal highlight.
I
of
would
like
say
Manson
that nothing
stuff.
tops that one. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I got another good question. This one's a nice one. I like this. This one's from Star Noir. What's it like to work with Reese?
It's great. Like, Reese is such an amazing person to work with, and for me personally, like,
this is Reese Fulber, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that I'm supposed to.
I'm trying to tell the people.
Just put some conduit on it. Yeah. So Reese from Frontline Assembly, who also did like a lot of production with like Fear Factory, and like he's an incredible producer, and he is an incredible musician as well. He pushed me a lot in terms of vocally. Like, at the time when we were doing the record, Reese was doing this thing that I felt like no one had really ever done, or we didn't really have the resource to do it. Like, the record before we did with Josh Eustace, who's from Telephone Tel Aviv. And a lot of his stuff is like more instrumental and like ethereal stuff. So like, no shade to Josh. He's a great producer, incredible, absolutely. But I think that Reese had a little more like work with like trying to push people that hit like certain zones. And so he would do this thing where he knew that my lyrics were like incredibly personal, and he would read them back to me over the mic, and I would get super embarrassed, and like, I'd be like, dude, stop saying this stuff. Bro. And he just he wouldn't get the memo. And he was like, this line, could you maybe perchance read this one again, you know, the one that says, and then he would like go into
And
the
you're
line,
like,
and I
oh
was
my
like,
God, this is coming in through these headphones so loud.
totally. And I was like, all right, fine, fucker. And then I would just like hit these fucking takes that were just like, "Bleh," because it just infuriated me. So it was cool to have Reese there in the studio because I think Reese like pushed me and challenged me to try new dynamics with how I scream. And like, you know, he's a really great, wonderful dude. It makes me happy whenever I get to see him.
That's fabulous. That's great. So we got about 3 minutes left, and just before we kind of wrap it up and everything like that, first of all, just Sarah, thank you for joining us and
Of
helping us
course.
with
Thank you
this
for
career
having
to
me.
St. Vitus, like alive during all this. I have to think. I mean, the response to the Kickstarter has been absolutely mind-boggling to all of us here, and thank you, everyone who's donated, been a part of Age of Quarantine, done anything like that. Thank you guys so much.
Keep Saint Vitus alive, man.
Yeah, it's been really just. I'm usually not at a loss of words, but I just say thank you. And pretty much, thanks a lot. We have a lot of Age of Quarantine next week. I'll be here Monday with John Joseph, and we're gonna keep moving on through the rest of the week there. So the way that we end the episodes, we got 2 minutes left, and we go, hey, 5 records for the quarantine. If you have to pick 5.
5 records for quarantine. Prick self-titled, Marilyn Manson, Mechanical Animals, Pantera, Far Beyond Driven,
Woo!
Orgy, Vapor Transmissions, Dead Z Phantasmagore.
Wow, dude, that was a quick 5. People struggle with that sometimes. And
You know what? The reason why is because like there's a lot of, so like I feel like
little Chris with Time to Shine ×5. Jersey.
Get out of here. But like I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand how good the Prick self-titled record is, and I feel like it is like my job as an ambassador of like things that have changed my life to get that fucking thing out there. Orgy, same thing. Dead Z, same thing. I feel like a lot of people kind of brush them off as being new metal, and they're fucking not, dude. They're fucking not new metal. They're good electronic rocker records, dude.
Electronic rocker records. You've heard it here from Sarah Taylor. That was. I'm arrested by how quick that was, and how strong it was. And it's
THOs are the only 5 records I've been listening to for like the past month.
This is a mission statement.
Yeah.
This is not even a list. This is a mission statement.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much. All of you guys, go to Bandcamp, buy the new Youth Code single, and shut the fuck up and wait for the record. Cheers. I'm
Cheers.
St. Vitus. Peace out, guys. Later.
Bye.